Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, depending on where you're tuning into. Welcome to another edition of Crime Time with DutyRon. Hey, today I wanted to propose to you guys Bryan Kohberger. Did the FBI really lose him on the way back from Idaho to Pennsylvania? And that's the topic of discussion today. Welcome into this live interactive broadcast. I am a retired New York City police detective, and if you like all things true crime related from the police detective perspective, hit that subscribe button and hit the notification bell. But let's get right into it. I want to say thank you to each and every one of you for joining, the replay viewers, the Patreon supporters, channel members, and all of the friends here on Crime Time with DutyRon. So yesterday it was reported in all of all of the online sleuths and messages came in to DutyRon.com. New York Post covered it. All of the major news carriers covered it. The FBI surveillance team, who was tasked to follow Bryan Kohberger and his father across the country, lost him for allegedly 15 some odd hours. But this information comes according to an author penning a true crime book about the University of Idaho murders. So we have to say to ourselves, wait a minute, are we being led down another road of misinformation, or is this in fact true? We don't know because it's coming from a source to an author of a documentary or a book, according to a book who's penning a true crime book. So it came to an author from a source. Whenever it's a source, I always get worried. Joey Brooklyn, good to see you. Thank you for joining. Thank you to everyone who's here hitting the thumbs up on the video. Now, the feds plan to constantly have eyes on Bryan Kohberger and his father as the 28-year-old traveled across the country. They made that 3-day trip from Pullman, Washington, to their family home over in Pennsylvania for the holidays before Christmas. But it's alleged in this article that the the surveillance team lost this suspect and his father as they pulled out of the parking lot of the graduate housing complex just 10 miles from where this murder occurred. And I just say to myself, the FBI, they're saying that this source is coming from the FBI. When I worked closely alongside of the FBI in the United Nations General Assembly, and over the course of my time as an NYPD detective, I could barely get the FBI to talk to me about anything that they were up to or anything that they were doing. Of course, we did have to work closely with them when it came to dignitary protection details, but they really never said a lot to us. And I'm supposed to now buy 100% that a source told an author of a book or a documentary series on these murders, that someone who's authoring a book, I'm supposed to just all of a sudden 100% believe that? So it's said that the team lost for several alarming hours the chief suspect in the quadruple homicide, and they just sent them into a tizzy. It says law enforcement admitted to the potentially disastrous slip-up with a bristle of embarrassment. Again, this is coming from Blum. It would be a disaster, not just professionally, but also for their own peace of mind. This author Bloom wrote of the officers' eagerness to arrest him. Worse, that it meant that they not just lost sight of Kohberger, but they lost sight of, obviously, his white Hyundai Elantra, which made him the suspect after a car matching the description was seen racing away from the murder scene around 3:54 a.m. on the night of the murders into the morning. They lost him before the intense cross-country surveillance operation could get underway. Complicating the hunt, Kohberger chose to take an indirect route home with his 67-year-old father, Michael, who would tell a friend it seemed to be didn't make sense to him. They went down into Colorado. But again, I say this. I asked the question to everybody is that when they identified this potential vehicle in the over in Pullman, Washington, when the Washington campus police did a run of all of the registered vehicles in that complex, and they came up with this white Hyundai. Who was watching him from 2 weeks into this thing? That's what I want to know. Like, who was watching Bryan Kohberger while he was going back and forth to school after these murders happened, November 13th? Who was watching him after the day that they identified the car? When that car and that license plate was identified in Washington, who was watching him and what was he doing? Where was he going? So this cross-country trip with the FBI surveillance team, that's a very important thing. But I say to myself, who was watching Bryan Kohberger after that 2 weeks into this murder? After this murder happened, 2 weeks into it, they identified this Hyundai 2015 Elantra. Who was watching him? What was he doing? Who was he interacting with? Those are questions that I would want to know. And for the FBI team attempting to follow and having a mood of, their mood was panicked and escalated into despair. This writer is telling everybody, I don't know if I buy this bag of goods. I will buy the bag of goods if it comes out at trial that he was lost during their surveillance. But I'm certainly not going to buy this 100% from some source. Again, we all have to worry when we hear source, right? According to this writer, it says the FBI got lucky. He said, reporting that the investigators found their suspect again thanks to an automated license plate reader picking up his car in Colorado. While he said the authorities are keeping the precise details of this screw-up close to the vest. If they're keeping this details of this screw-up close to the vest, why are they reporting on it? How and why is this guy reporting on it if authorities are trying to keep this screw-up close to the vest? It doesn't make sense. What FBI agent would leak this to a book writer? It just doesn't make sense. Doesn't make sense to me. If it doesn't add up, then it doesn't make sense to me. And for me, I don't 100% buy it. I'm not 100% discounting it because look at what happened with Brian Laundrie with the Northport Police Department. They were supposed to be surveilling Brian Laundrie. They put cameras up in his backyard and they still lost Brian Laundrie. But that was local police. This is the feds. This is the FBI. So again, the FBI aren't really open. They aren't open with us to talk about what they do and how they do it. They don't jabberjaw. I'll put it to you that way. The FBI doesn't jabberjaw with the general public, no less some book author or some writer that's documenting it. It says that they picked him up. I'm just reading this article to you guys. FBI supposedly picked him up in Loma, Colorado, from some license plate reader, and it was 15 hours. It was a 15-hour drive. So we are to believe that for 15 hours, the FBI lost Bryan Kohberger and his father. Once back on his trail, the surveillance squad feared an even bigger disaster in the state of Indiana. Remember when Bryan Kohberger was pulled over twice by local police? Previous reports suggested that the stops could have been at the behest of the feds. But the source, Blum, says his source maintained this guy Blum is the writer of the potential writer of this docuseries on the killings in Idaho, in Moscow. Previous reports suggest that the stop has been at the behest of the feds, but Blum said his sources maintain it was unconnected and left the agents frustrated and angry that he even got pulled over. The possibilities were too dangerous, he wrote, of fears that the local cops would recognize the car from appeals and the arrest of the suspect would happen too soon, or that he might have been armed and fled arrest. Instead, the officers did not catch on and let Kohberger go, allowing the agents to finally follow him home to the Poconos in Pennsylvania, Monroe County, where officers busted him after obtaining damning DNA evidence in the neighbor's garbage. Remember, he cleaned his car in the middle of the night, took the garbage out also in the middle of the night, and discarded it in his neighbor's trash can. So, happy birthday to Richella Pranzo. Happy 29th birthday to Richella. I saw that it was going crazy in the chat with all the birthday wishes. Richella, I'm wishing you many, many more healthy, first and foremost, happy birthdays. You're only 29 once, Richella, so happy birthday. So I don't know, guys. Let me know, guys and girls, let me know down in the comments below if you feel that this is a legit story, or is this a story that we have to take with a grain of salt? Do we, in fact, have to look at this story and say, wait a minute, it comes from a source? Leanne Hill, thank you for becoming a bronze member. Appreciate that. Thank you for becoming a channel member. And for those of you who are considering becoming Patreon supporters or channel members or leaving super chats, we greatly appreciate it. Ed Wallace and I thank you guys tremendously. Tonight or tomorrow, I am going to see if I can get Dr. Joni Johnston to come on to talk about the criminal psyche of Bryan Kohberger. We had her on before when there was nobody in custody. We had her on just to talk about a potential suspect in this case, or suspects. So now that there is somebody in custody, I want to get Dr. Joni Johnston. She's a forensic and clinical psychologist. So she's a forensic, clinical, and she's going to come on and talk to us, hopefully, about the psyche of Bryan Kohberger. I'm going to ask her about his writings while he was at DeSales University and what he was doing for his studies, and that funky questionnaire about what a murderer would do and how the murderer would approach his victims and how the murderer would leave the location. I'm going to ask Dr. Joni Johnston about this. Hopefully I can get her tonight. If not, it will be maybe tomorrow night for Friday. Ed is inside the country, and he is in the capital of China. He is in Bangkok. So he is going to be available for us. He's 12 hours. There's a 12-hour time difference. So Ed Wallace is traveling again, but he should be back before you know it. But, I posed this question to you guys, what do you think? Do you think, in fact, that the FBI really did lose this suspect, Bryan Kohberger, and his father? Or is this something that we are being fed because of the gag order and that there's no contact, right? What do we have going on here? Is this something that's being put out for our entertainment? Or are we supposed to buy this bag of goods? I don't know. I don't know. But these are questions that we have. Something is off, says Schmitty. Looking forward to tonight. We're not 100% sure, but Magic 8 Ball says highly probable. I don't think it's highly probable, KH Walker. I think this is a 50-50 chance. Don't get me wrong. I'm not poo-pooing this thing, but I am saying here, for us, all of us here in the community, I would have to say, take this with a grain of salt, just like all the other hogwash that's out there. People are talking about things that they're not even... I want to tell you this. Everybody's becoming an expert on everything in this Bryan Kohberger case, in these Idaho college students who were slain brutally alleged by Bryan Kohberger. Everybody's becoming experts in everything, and I try to stay in my own lane. And what I mean by staying in my own lane is, if I'm not a forensic psychologist, I don't talk strongly about forensic psychology. I leave it up to the professionals. If I'm not a forensic anthropologist, I leave it up to an anthropologist. If I'm not a forensic pathologist, I let a pathologist. If I'm not a crime scene unit investigator like Ed Wallace is, I let him do the talking. I leave it up to the experts. I'm not an attorney. I can't talk to you strongly about conflicts of interest, so I yield to attorneys. I yield to folks who know about this stuff. That's the only right thing to do in my eyes. I do not and will not give you guys information that I am not well versed in. And in this case, I know about the FBI, but I do not know 100% whether this person that's reporting that the FBI lost Bryan Kohberger and his father for some 15 hours, I don't know if this is just sensationalized media coverage. I don't know if this is a sensationalized story that's being fed to us, not to you, to us together. And for that reason, I say, let's give this a 50-50. This could go either way. I mean, if I really would be honest with you, I say 75% it's bullshit and 25% maybe is true. That's my personal opinion. So I hate to put it to you, with a little bit of cuss words in there, but that's how I see it. Let me know what you think down below in the comment section. Again, I don't believe everything that I hear, especially when it's on Facebook, especially when it's on, social media. I kind of take that stuff with a grain of salt because I want to verify it. And where is this source? A source from the FBI. The FBI doesn't have many sources that leak stuff. I'm going to tell you that right now. So I need a Jagaloon sign in the back seat. Yes, Wild Z Pony, I need one of those, or like a pop down that just comes out of the ceiling. Jagaloon just comes right down. I need one of those. So, yes, fake book, not Facebook, MFin. I call it fake book. Farmall Fanatic, boom, comes in with a $5 super chat and says, love the fact they never told the media like most law enforcement nowadays. Yeah, there you go. Farmall Fanatic, you said it well there. Again, when I read this stuff, I have to say to myself, things that make you go, And I immediately comes to mind Jagaloon 101. And you know what? If this turns out to be a story that's completely true, then I am a man of my word. I will come back and I'll say, hey, my 50-50, I guess, my 75-25, my 50-50, and then presented 75-25 bullshit, I will tell you that I'm wrong. But let me know by putting a 1 in the chat if you think the story's true. Put a 2 in the chat if you're leery. 1 if you think it's true 100%. 2 if you're leery. 2 if you're leery and you feel that my 75-25 is good, or my 50-50. Let's see how many goes. Rob Vogel, thank you for the super love. A lot of number 2s. Schmitty, thank you. Thanks for saying I should be a skeptic. I see a lot of number 2s. Where's the number 1s? It's got to be some number 1s. Don't be afraid. If you feel like it's a 1, put a 1. And happy birthday. There's a 3. I knew a 3 would be coming. Happy birthday to Richella Pranzo. Happy 29th birthday to Richella. Gosh, the 2s are outweighing the 1. 2.99. Like they said, this is I'm gonna pull something out of a movie, and whoever can guess the movie wins a DutyRon pen. All right, ready to guess and win a DutyRon pen, and then we'll wrap it up. What movie was this line from? And this is where I'm guessing. This is where I'm saying, when it comes to this story, it is 0.0%. Where did that come from? 0.0%. It's an oldie but a goodie. First comment that gets it right gets a DutyRon pen. Okay, Bram Malika, there it is. Animal House. Send me a message on DutyRon.com. Bram, put your screen name in there. I just screenshotted it. Send me your name and your address. Hopefully you don't live in Guam or somewhere outside the country. Send me your name. I will send you. It was, she won it. Animal House. Thank you for that. 0.0%. All right, guys. A lot of love and respect from my house to yours. God bless the world. God bless the United States of America. And God bless each and every one of us here in the chat. I'll see you guys either tonight or tomorrow night, hopefully with Dr. Joni Johnston. I sent her an email and a message. Hopefully she gets back to me. And I will see you guys on the next one.